It all began on a snowy December evening, during the annual office Christmas party. Clara, a young graphic designer with a knack for noticing details, had just joined the team earlier that year. She was excited to finally feel included in the holiday traditions of her new workplace, and this particular event had everyone buzzing: the Secret Santa gift exchange. The party was held in the break room, which had been transformed into a winter wonderland. Tinsel sparkled under the soft glow of string lights, and snowflake decorations hung from the ceiling. A small, artificial Christmas tree sat in the corner, its base surrounded by brightly wrapped presents. Everyone was eager to find out who their secret Santa was and what gifts they had received. Clara was no exception. When her turn came, she picked up a small, neatly wrapped package with her name written in elegant cursive on the tag. She smiled as she opened it, unwrapping the layers carefully to reveal an antique-looking snow globe. The globe was exquisite, unlike anything she had ever seen. Inside was a miniature scene of a small wooden house, surrounded by trees dusted with fake snow. A single figure stood in the front yard, wearing what looked like a long coat. Clara admired the intricate details, from the texture of the snow to the delicate carvings on the house's shutters. She tilted the globe, watching the snow swirl around the scene. "Wow, this is beautiful," Clara said, showing it to her co-workers. A few complimented the gift, while others joked that their secret Santas weren't as thoughtful. Clara placed the snow globe on her desk when she returned to her office, excited to have such a lovely decoration for the holiday season. But what started as a charming addition to her workspace quickly turned into something much darker. The first time Clara noticed something strange was the day after the party. She was working on a design project late in the afternoon when she glanced at the snow globe. Something seemed different. The figure inside, the one standing in the yard, looked closer to the house than it had before. "That's odd," Clara muttered to herself. She figured she must have been mistaken. Maybe the angle was playing tricks on her, or she just hadn't been paying close enough attention when she first saw it. Shrugging it off, she returned to her work. But the next day, things got even weirder. Clara was typing away at her computer when she felt an odd sensation, as if someone were watching her. She turned around, half expecting to see a coworker standing behind her, but the office was empty. Her eyes landed on the snow globe. The figure inside was now at the very edge of the yard, just inches from the glass. Clara's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't her imagination. The figure had definitely moved. She picked up the globe, turning it over in her hands to see if it was broken or had some kind of mechanism. But nothing about it seemed unusual. Maybe it's just a prank, she thought. One of her co-workers might have swapped the globe out for a different one to mess with her. But as much as she tried to rationalize it, she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling creeping up her spine. That night, Clara decided to take the snow globe home with her. If someone was playing a joke, they wouldn't be able to mess with it outside the office. She placed it on her bedside table, hoping to forget about the strange occurrences. Around 3 a.m., Clara woke up to a soft tapping sound. It was faint at first, barely audible over the hum of her apartment's heater. She lay still, trying to figure out where it was coming from. Tap, tap, tap. She turned on her bedside lamp, her eyes scanning the room. The sound was louder now, more deliberate. And then she saw it, the snow globe. The tapping was coming from inside. Clara's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the globe. The figure inside was now pressed against the glass, its face turned directly toward her. Though it had no distinct features, Clara could feel its gaze boring into her. She grabbed the snow globe and threw it into the trash can across the room. The tapping stopped immediately, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Clara didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, she decided to get rid of the snow globe for good. She wrapped it in several layers of paper, stuffed it into a garbage bag, and threw it in the dumpster outside her apartment building. Satisfied that it was gone, she headed to work, determined to put the whole ordeal behind her. But when she arrived at her desk, her blood ran cold. The snow globe was sitting there, perfectly intact, right where it had been before she took it home. Clara felt her hands shaking as she picked it up. She marched over to her co-workers, demanding to know who was behind the prank. But they all looked genuinely confused. No one admitted to touching the snow globe, and some even seemed worried about her. By now, Clara was terrified. That night, she packed up the snow globe again, this time driving miles out of town to a remote wooded area. She buried it in the snow, making sure it was completely covered, and left without looking back. Clara never saw the snow globe again. She quit her job shortly after, unable to shake the feeling that someone or something was watching her. To this day, she wonders who her secret Santa was and where they found such a cursed object. Every time the holidays roll around, Clara avoids gift exchanges entirely, haunted by the memory of the snow globe and the figure that moved closer and closer until it seemed ready to escape. Josh had always loved Christmas. The lights, the carols, the cozy family traditions. It was the one time of year when everything felt perfect. After finishing his first semester of college, he was thrilled to return home for the holidays. His family's house, nestled in a quiet suburban neighborhood, had always felt safe and warm, especially during Christmas time. That year, his family decided to add a fun twist to their usual celebrations: a secret Santa gift exchange. Josh thought it was a great idea. He loved surprises and couldn't wait to see what quirky or thoughtful gift his secret Santa would pick for him. The day of the exchange came, and Josh eagerly reached into the pile of gifts to find the one with his name on it. It was wrapped in plain red paper, without a bow or decoration, simple and unassuming. Opening it, he found a black notebook inside. At first, he was confused. The notebook was plain and completely blank, except for one line scrawled in the center of the first page. "I see you." Josh laughed nervously and held it up for his family to see. "Okay, who gave me this?" he asked, smiling as he looked around the room. His younger sister, Ellie, giggled, but no one else confessed. His parents exchanged confused glances, and his mom said, "It's a secret Santa. Remember? You're not supposed to know." Shrugging, Josh chalked it up to someone's idea of a joke. Maybe Ellie had drawn his name and thought it would be funny to freak him out. He set the notebook aside and enjoyed the rest of the evening with his family. That night, Josh was lying in bed scrolling through his phone when he remembered the notebook. He picked it up from his nightstand and flipped through the pages again. Blank. Just that one unsettling sentence. "I see you," he laughed to himself, shaking his head. "Weird," he muttered, tossing it onto his desk. The next morning, however, things started to feel off. When Josh woke up, he noticed something strange. A folded piece of paper sticking out from the notebook that hadn't been there before. Curious, he opened it. The note was written in the same messy handwriting. "Nice blue pajamas." Josh froze. His heart started pounding in his chest. He was wearing blue pajamas, the same ones he'd had on when he opened the gift. Still, he tried to brush it off. Maybe Ellie had snuck into his room while he was sleeping. It was a weird joke, but that had to be it, right? He confronted her at breakfast, but Ellie swore it wasn't her. She even looked genuinely freaked out when he showed her the note. Josh tried to let it go, but as the day went on, his uneasiness grew. That night, as he lay in bed, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Every creak of the house, every rustle of the wind outside, made his skin crawl. He eventually drifted off, but his sleep was restless and filled with strange dreams. The next morning, Josh found another note. This one wasn't in the notebook. It was slipped under his bedroom door. "I like your red socks." Josh's stomach dropped. He had been wearing red socks the night before. How could someone know that? This time, he checked every window and door in the house, making sure they were locked. He told his parents, but they just laughed it off. "It's probably Ellie messing with you," his dad said. "She's always been a prankster," but Josh knew his sister wasn't behind this. She wasn't sneaky enough to pull something like this off without getting caught. And besides, the handwriting didn't look like hers. By the third day, Josh was completely on edge. Another note appeared, again slipped under his door during the night. "You sleep with the lights off." Josh could feel his heart racing as he read the words. Whoever was doing this wasn't just guessing, they knew. He decided to stay awake that night, determined to catch whoever was behind the notes. He set up his phone to record video, propping it up on his desk, and sat in bed with the lights on. Hours passed, and eventually, exhaustion got the better of him. He drifted off to sleep. When he woke up the next morning, the first thing he did was check the recording. His heart sank as he watched the footage. Around 3 a.m., the screen went black for a few seconds, as if someone had covered the camera. When the video resumed, nothing seemed out of place, until he noticed the new note sitting on his desk. Nice try. By now, Josh was terrified. He didn't feel safe in his own house. He tried to convince his parents to take it seriously, but they thought he was overreacting. "It's probably just some stupid prank," his dad said. That evening, Josh sat in his room, staring out the window at the snow-covered street. He thought he saw movement, a figure standing under the streetlight, wearing a red Santa hat. Josh's blood ran cold. The figure was still, almost like a statue, but Josh could feel its gaze locked on him. He turned away from the window to grab his phone and call his dad. But when he looked back, the figure was gone. That night, another note appeared. "See you soon." Josh couldn't take it anymore. He packed a bag and insisted on staying with his best friend, Adam, for a few days. Adam lived across town and had always been a skeptic, but even he admitted the notes were creepy. While at Adam's house, Josh didn't receive any new notes, and he started to relax. Maybe whoever was behind the prank had given up. But on Christmas Eve, Josh received one final message. It wasn't a note this time. It was a text from an unknown number. The message read, "I told you I see you. Merry Christmas." Attached was a photo of Josh sleeping at Adam's house. Josh immediately showed Adam, who called the police, but nothing ever came of it. The number couldn't be traced, and no one was ever caught. To this day, Josh has no idea who his secret Santa was or how they managed to follow him so closely. The notebook disappeared after that night, but every Christmas, Josh feels a chill whenever he looks out the window, half expecting to see a figure in a Santa hat watching from the shadows.